What's happening, Bama Nation? What's going on? Yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, just continuing this conversation on a Thursday about Alabama's 2025 signing class. 21 student athletes signed on Wednesday to Kalen DeBoer's first major recruiting class as the Crimson Tide's head coach. And after looking at the offensive line and why so much emphasis was put on having 4 offensive linemen in this class, I kind of want to shift gears to another thought process that you as Tide Nation have. I know you looked at the list of defensive players signed, and I know a lot of you had gone through your mind, why did Alabama only get one freshman defensive lineman, that being London Simmons from Mississippi, and only 3 defensive backs? Like, what was the purpose behind all of that? Like we saw in the Saban era, Saban stockpiled defensive backs. Saban had like 6 or 7 DBs per recruiting class. Saban had like 4 or 5 defensive linemen per class. Like, why was there only one true freshman defensive lineman signed in this class and 3 defensive backs in this class? Well, let me clear this up for you. So Coach Saban was always a defensive guru. He was always a defensive mind. At college, at Kent State University, Saban played defensive back. When he became a coach, he was a defensive backs guy, whether it was with Bill Belichick in the NFL or the different coaching stops in college he made in his career. Coach Saban was always defensive minded, defensive oriented. Then at Alabama, he was primarily a de facto cornerbacks coach. That's the reason why he put an emphasis so much on the DB position. That's why he recruited 7 to 8 defensive backs per class. He's a defensive guy. As opposed to Kalen DeBoer, defense is not his area. It's not his strong suit. He's more of an offensive guy. That's Kalen DeBoer. He puts more of an emphasis here on the offensive side of the football. But even more so deeper than that, starting with the defensive line, Bama's front is going to be young next season, you guys. A young front. You could lose Tim Keenan to the NFL draft. You could lose Tim Smith and Jamarian Latham to the NFL draft, those 3. You could lose LT Overton as well. I personally see LT coming back to develop more tape for himself. So if you bring back LT Overton, you could see LT, Damon Payne Jr., James Smith, Jordan Renard, Edric Hill, Isaiah Fogg, Jeremiah Beeman. There's going to be quite a few young guys being back on this defensive front next season and start in the spring. So with that being said, Kalen DeBoer and the coaching staff, primarily Freddie Roach, because he's the D-line coach, he didn't see a need. Roach didn't see a dire need to just stockpile on defensive linemen because of all the young names, all the young headhunters you're going to have coming back on that side of the ball. So that's why he just focused on, okay, let's get one true freshman. That's why you see London Simmons from Mississippi in here. But you also got 2 JUCO kids. You got Steve Bolo Mbomoa from Canada, grew up in Cameroon playing soccer, but Mbomoa from Canada. You get him from Southwest Mississippi Community College. Now, fun fact there on Steve Mbomoa, he was supposed to have came in last year's class, right? But because of grades and what have you, he had to go the JUCO route. So he goes to Southwest Mississippi Community College, gets his grades in line, still keeps in shape, still plays game of football. And so now he's more so ready to come up to the University of Alabama. The young man, 6'4", 290 pounds, physical, tough. He's got a power about him. He's got a strength about him. He's got a nastiness to him, got an edge to him. I like him, Mbomoa. And he's gonna have a chance to push for some playing time here in the spring and more importantly next season. And so that's Steve M as far as one JUCO guy. And you picked up Cavante Henry, which is your other JUCO guy out of California, went to Cerritos College in California his sophomore year. This is a young man that had 48 tackles, 7.5 of those for loss, a team high, 3.5 sacks at Cerritos this season right here. So you got Cavante Henry, and you also got Steve Mbomoa, 2 JUCO kids. And those JUCO kids come in handy. Remember in the Saban era, Jaron Reed, DJ Petway, both of those two JUCO kids, they came in handy, helping Alabama win national championships. So you never shoot down the JUCO kids because they come in with experience, they come in with playing knowledge, they come in with that college experience, already been a part of a college campus before. Though it's of a smaller variety, those JUCO kids mean something, especially on the defensive line. So having Mbamoa, having Cavante Henry, they will both play a role here on this defensive front, especially with a young group coming back. Now, in the defensive secondary, you brought in three big names if you're King of the board. It's not the massive haul that Saban usually brings in, but you bring in three big-time dudes. And Chuck McDonald III out of Mater Dei High School, the Procedures Mater Dei out of Santa Ana, California. You bring in Dijon Lee Jr., another California kid, and you bring in Yvonne Taylor, who's a thumper of a defensive back. Starting off of Chuck McDonald, I don't know who the coach is at Mater Dei that coaches corners, but whoever he is, a college is going to be looking at that brother soon, because every corner that comes out of Mater Dei, you want to talk about teach, tape, exquisite technique, they all have it. Damani Jackson coming out of Mater Dei, solid technique. No, he didn't fit in at USC, but guess what? The brother fits in at Alabama and is having a big year for the Crimson Tide, and he's locking down receivers. Xavier Brown coming out of Mater Dei, comes in here to Alabama with that teach tape technique, started as a freshman. And you can see why, because game by game by game, Brown has gotten better, 2 picks on the year. Started the SEC regular season schedule for Alabama conference play with a pick against Georgia to seal that game. And when he gets a pick in the Iron Bowl against Auburn, Xavier Brown. So now here comes Chuck McDonald, the latest addition here from Mater Dei High School to Alabama, that pipeline. This kid at 6'1", 6'2", 190 pounds, size there. He's got speed. He can run, got tremendous recovery speed, great technique, can break on the football, good coverage skills, good ball skills. I like what you're getting here in Chuck McDonald. I like what Alabama's getting with Chucky M right here. I like this. Now, Dijon Lee at 6'4" can play a little bit, can play anywhere. You can put this man at safety. You can put him at corner. You can put him at nickel. Anywhere. You can put Dijon Lee Jr. anywhere. And it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in this Kane Womack scheme with Maurice Linguist and Colin Hitzler. It's going to be interesting to see how Lee fits into the scheme here. But I like the size. I like the range. I like the athleticism. I like it right there from Dijon Lee. And then Yvonne Taylor, this guy can just thump. This guy can bring the stick. The way he brings the stick on plays kind of puts me in that mind of Ronnie Harrison. Now, am I saying that this guy is Ronnie Harrison? No. I'm just saying the way he brings that stick, it kind of puts me in the mindset of a Ronnie Harrison. But I like Yvonne Taylor, very good on the back end, can hit, can tackle, is an enforcer back there, just the way that he plays the game. So, and King and the board talked about it. These 3 guys we picked up, they are different. This is all that we needed in the DB room. Why? Because you're bringing back several DBs. Brayson Hubbard's coming back. Xavier Brown's coming back. Jalen Mbakwe coming back. Zay Mincy coming back. Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. coming back. King Mack coming back. You got Keon Sabb in the secondary, looking like running it back with Alabama starting in the spring. So you're getting several DBs back. That's the reason why King and the board and that defensive coaching staff just stuck with, let's get 3 DBs. We'll get Chuck McDonald. We'll get Dijon Lee Jr. We'll get Yvonne Taylor, and we will just roll with that. So that was the meaning behind Alabama signing 1 freshman defensive lineman and 3 DBs in this 2025 class. This is yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, just giving my perspective from the defensive aspect of why Alabama took this class the way it did.